A very good morning to you, dear listener, and welcome to this edition of the program. Our focus is on the Nigerian project. We shall offer reflections and propositions on the Nigerian project, basing our discussion on a paper which was presented about 13 years ago, precisely in October 2012, by one of Nigeria's nationalist and finest brains who has raised issues bordering on the unity of the country, how it can seek to achieve oneness, its foreign policy, and the issues bedeviling the country, which currently are also plaguing the nation. And this is why we shall reflect on this matter. On the 17th of October 2012, the then of the Department of Archaeology at Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Professor Zacharias Gondo gave a paper on Nigeria, bridging the gap between oneness and disintegration. But over the years, the issues he raised in that paper have continued to be with us, and we are still grappling with them. This is why on this edition, we shall give fresh attention to bring these issues to the plane of discussion and the extent to which, as Nigerians, as citizens, we can find answers to the challenges bedeviling us. He has joined us here in the studio to raise discussion on these issues. Professor Zacharias Gondo is a Vice Chancellor, University of Mka in Boko. Currently, he's our guest on Perspectives this morning. Thank you very much, Prof, for joining us, and welcome to Perspectives.
Thank you so much for having me with you.
All right. I am Nathaniel Nongo, welcoming you to this Monday edition of the program. And if this is your first time tuning in, kindly be informed that Perspectives is an audience participatory program. At 10 o'clock, we allow you, the listener, to phone in to also offer your thoughts on what we are discussing. The number through which you can reach us is 0814-335-9292. The number once again is 0814-335-9292. In the meantime, the SMS line is also available, and you can reach us through that line too. The line is 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. And that line is also available on WhatsApp. You may log on to our website on www.agateradio.tv.com to listen to us and access other content of Agate Radio as well. We are available on Radio Garden and on social media platforms where our content is streaming. You may also download the Agate Radio and TV app from Google Play Store, which avails you the platform of our television online, the radio, as well as newspaper. Please join us to be a part of this discussion. We'll take a short break, and once we are back, the discussion begin. Kindly stay with us. Welcome back from that short breather. Now, Prof, let's begin from the title of this lecture, which you gave 13 years ago, precisely in October 2012. You titled the lecture, Nigeria, Bridging the Gap Between Oneness and Disintegration. A catchy title. What informed this topic at the time you conceived it for that lecture?
Well, at the time, 2012, when I was asked to give this lecture by Rukon is a Christian institute in Jos. They were interested in trying, as a Christian organization, to join a discourse on the Nigerian project. And they gave me an opportunity to fine-tune the topic. And what was of interest to them at that point in time, and what was of interest to me at that point in time, was how we can improve on our country by being one instead of going towards disintegration. At that point in time, a lot of people thought we were just on the brink of collapse. The Americans had suggested that Nigeria would collapse, Nigeria would break up, and there were reasons to believe that if we're not very careful, this country will break up. This country will disintegrate. There were fault lines. And we wanted to look at some of these fault lines. I wanted to see how we could dance from the brink of collapse. That is what informed us, and that is what we attempted to discuss in the paper. Unfortunately, a paper that was given on this country in 2012 seems to be so relevant today. It resonates some of the challenges we are still facing in the current turn of things. We still seem to be dancing close to the brink. We are not there. We have not disintegrated, but the fault lines are there, and the fault lines are becoming quite difficult to navigate around. Whether we're talking about religion, whether we're talking about nepotism, whether we're talking about the use of resources, whether we're talking about the legitimacy of governance structures. These fault lines are there, and they are very, very urgent fault lines we cannot ignore. So these are some of the things that informed the title of the paper and what we attempted to deal with in the paper.
Okay, now you mentioned the propositions by some institutes thinking that Nigeria would disintegrate. This was majorly the position before the 2015 election, which was considered as a make or mar election for Nigeria. But Nigeria did not disintegrate from that election. Did we fault the assumptions of those who made this proposition?
Well, it's actually the Americans who had made that proposition. They have changed that proposition for several times. Now, the argument is that by 1930, Nigeria will disintegrate. And 1930 is a very important milestone.
That's 2030?
Yeah, 2020, sorry, yes. 2030. 2030 is a very important milestone in this country and in Africa. By 2030, it is estimated that Nigeria will be the sixth most populous country in the world. And that is very immense for us. That is extremely immense for us as a country. If you look at the demographics, by 2030,
yes,
when we're supposed to be the sixth most populous country in the world, the number of Nigerians who would be Muslims would be certainly more than 60%. And then out of this 60%, majority of them will be illiterates in the north, Muslims who are not going to school, Muslims who are amenable to political Islam. And people are arguing that if you don't go to school and you are depending on political Islam, a lot of things can go wrong. And it's frightening that in this country today, in 2025, because of Ramadan, several states of the north will just close their schools and stay home. It's frightening. What they are saying essentially is education is not important, education is not helpful, And once a people decide that education is not important, education is not helpful, uh, they could go overboard in the name of religion. And we know that in Nigeria, when people go overboard in the name of religion, they can do a lot of things that can damage the fabric and the cohesion we have in this country. That is our fear.
Okay, now let's look at the main challenges you would point out as facing the national unity and integration of Nigeria compared to 2012 when you presented this lecture and what is obtainable today.
Well, I think essentially not much has changed. Essentially, not much has changed. In 2012, we argued that the foundation of this country was faulty. The foundation of this country was faulty blocks. There was the Lagos colony, the oil rivers colony, and then the northern side of the country, three pillars. They came together and were amalgamated by 1914. And when this happened, not all of these three areas were ready to work together. Yes, the Lagos area seemed to have been prepared because that is where the Europeans came first. They were educated. Then the rivers area was also where they were getting the oil and they were getting slabs. That is the palm oil, and they were getting slabs. The north was an amalgam of what even the British people called Muslims and then pagans. Every other person who was not a Muslim in the north was termed a pagan. And these three areas really were not prepared to that. The Lagos area and the rivers area, that is east, and the riverine areas were more sustainable. The north was not very sustainable. In fact, the north was running at a deficit. Deficit because the north was landlocked and it was impossible to tax things that were going out and to tax things that were coming in because we were not close to the coast. So we had that issue up to independence. But when we got our independence, the Europeans, the British people specifically, decided for whatever reasons to side with what they then called the House of Fulani. And once they sided with these people, the other people who are in the north became marginalized. And most people forget that this country is a country of diversity. It's a country of diversity. There are close to 250 ethnic nationalities in Nigeria. And if you are talking about living languages, there are slightly more than 500 living languages in this country. But right from the colonial period up to independence up to now, what you see in Nigeria is an unholy trinity, what I refer to as an unholy trinity. You have the Igbos, you have the Yorubas, and you have what is called the House of Fulani. And once any government takes a decision that seems to favor these three groups of people, they think they have solved a problem. And we have consistently said that no, you cannot just look at Nigeria from the perspective of the three groups, which are the unholy trinity. You must look at Nigeria from the perspective of our diverse people. And the way to do this is to consider everybody as a citizen. if you do not develop citizenship, you will not have a sustainable nation. If you attempt at any point in time to see this country from the perspective of the three groups, you are running into trouble. And that is where we are at the moment. When Bola Tinubu, as president of this country, makes appointments, people go quickly to count who is a Yoruba, who is an Igbo, who is a Hausa, or who is a Fulani person. And this also goes back to the states. If you go to any other state, particularly where there are several people and the state is diverse, people tend to look at every single appointment from the perspective of where this person comes from and where this person comes from. And these are cleavages, these are fault lines that are quite real. And then, of course, you have the issue of religion. In 2012, religion was a very powerful fault line. Even today, religion is also a powerful fault line. If you realize, you call it the Muslim ticket. The people like Governor El-Rufai, then of Kaduna State, who promoted this idea, were doing it to snub the Christians. And then, of course, the Christians were probably asleep and snoring. They didn't catch up to the fact. And today, the same people who promoted this idea are also regretting it, because it didn't work out the way they wanted the idea to work out. And we're having issues. So the point one is trying to make is that most of the fault lines which we're able to identify in 2012 are still very, 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 very fresh in our minds today. Just because we have been unable as a country to make sure that we grow into a very cohesive nation state. Everybody is just thinking about their own primordial linkages, what their own religion would support them to do, and how they will use and leverage on religion and maybe ethnicity to get something out for them. So we see Nigeria, all of us virtually see Nigeria as a big cake, and everybody is struggling to cut it from that cake. We are not thinking about how we can put back to ensure that that cake grows. And this is the unfortunate aspect of it.
Okay, now, the popular cliche we have often heard is there is strength in diversity and unity in diversity. Do you believe in that unity in diversity of Nigeria, given, like you pointed out, over 250 ethnic nationalities? You also argued this in your lecture.
Well, the environmentalists will tell you that when you have a diverse environment, when you have a forest where you have several trees, several bushes, that forest, that environment is going to be stronger. This is also with human beings. Human beings that have been heterogeneous, human societies that are undergirded by differences, by diversity, are stronger. Pharaonic Egypt, for example, did not survive for long because there was a lot of inbreeding. But a people have to manage their differences in a particular way for them to leverage on those differences for unity, to leverage on those differences for development. India, for example, no person can say that Nigeria is more diverse than India. But India did a very, 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 very interesting thing at independence. What India decided to do at independence was to invest in the brains of their people. That is what India decided to do deliberately, to invest in education. That is what I mean by investing in the brains of their people. And India, in addition to establishing several schools, decided to establish about 7 institutes of technology. Today, it is more difficult to get into an Indian Institute of Technology, the 7 of them that were established by independence. It's more difficult to get into them than it is to get to Yale or to Harvard or to Oxford.
Or Cambridge.
Or Cambridge. People queue up several years to get into them. India is today the pharmacy of the world. And if you remember Indian history, after their independence, there was hunger in India, famine in India, no food in India. And the Indians sat back, their political class sat back and said, India will no longer go hungry. India will never go hungry again. That is what they decided. So, yes, India is very diverse. But what India has done is they now have a sense of nationality, a sense of oneness, a sense of being together, a sense of saying that this can never happen in India again. In Nigeria, yes, our diversity is there. Yes, if we leverage on the diversity, we will be strong, we will develop. But we have not had any leadership that will leverage on that diversity and get you and I to be behind them. Every other person who comes in as a leader wants to be wants to just service his own immediate area. We see Bola Tinubu doing that as president. We see him doing that as president. We saw Buhari doing that as president of this country. To a point, we saw President Obasanjo also doing that when he was president. We saw the military doing that when they were there. They were just trying to, if you look at the states that were created, most of them created the states because they wanted to pander to their localities, to the local interests that they wanted to serve. They didn't create these states because they wanted all of us to have that sense of belonging. So those who were close to them got certain favors from them. Those who were not close to them did not get the favors. So the point I'm trying to make is that it looks to me that we are not handling our diversity well, whether at the national level or at the sub-local government, and then you will hear cries and you will see where projects are cited. You will see who is benefiting. And then, of course, to make it worse, we have used diversity very poorly. If we really want to move on in this country, we have to question things like traditional institutions. How are they doing for us? Why are we creating chiefdoms and creating kingdoms and having traditional rulers and grading them into the different grades. What are they doing? Especially this question comes up when you see that even with their presence, we are still very much divided. We are still very much divided. So these are some of the things. Yes, I don't think we are managing our diversity very well. Maybe we don't know. Differences would strengthen us.
All right. Now, it is often said too that the conscience of a nation, it's young people. How can we engage the young people to unity and integration for the country?
I think the solution may lie in education. The solution may lie in education, except that Nigerian education is a big, huge challenge. The people who go to school now are interested more in cheating their way through the school system. And those of us who are managers in the school system, it's possible we are not doing it very well because day in, day out, we see the people we are training cheating on the system. And sometimes we allow this cheating to continue. Worse, the people who are in the school system who would handle our future, who will manage our future, also see the older generation not being honest and fair in certain things they are doing. So it's as if every person is just running and waiting for an opportunity to be in charge and then begin to cheat. So yes, I think we have not led by example. We've not led by example. And it is also showing that the youngsters, the younger people, probably because they cheat to pass exams, they cheat through the school system, they are also learning very quickly to cheat into positions of leadership, because these are also the people who are thugs. These are also the people who don't want to even reason. What I see as a deficiency of the younger people, and those of us who are in the school system must take responsibility for this, is that there is no spirit of inquiry, because the solution actually is in the questions we ask. If people are not questioning, they just want to grab, they just want to cheat, they just want to have money, they want to have houses, it's going to be difficult for them to even imbibe work ethics that will lead us out of the challenges we have. So if you don't have the proper work ethics, if you don't ask how you can have this, if you just want to cheat your way through the system, I'm not sure how we will have any solution coming from our children, the youngsters we are training.
You mentioned this cheat repeatedly, and of course the interesting aspect which was mentioned, cheat into leadership. Is this an indictment on our political structures of leadership in the country?
Yes, of course. Because in that paper, I talked about the legitimacy of government. In that paper, I talked about the legitimacy of government. And the legitimacy of government depends essentially on whether we are having free and fair elections. Right from 1999, when we started this current political dispensation, there is no election that has been free and fair. There is none. There is none. That has been free and fair. And then, of course, if the judiciary were up and doing, you cheat in an election. Certainly, if you cheat in an election, they find you out and they get it from you and give it to the legitimate winner. People would have been slightly more careful. But the people who cheat also work through the court system and they have issues. Only if they are not able to pay their way through the system. You know, there's this standing joke that when you are facing the election tribunal, the tribunal will have two judgments in the pocket. It depends on who pays more. If you pay very well, they will give you the judgment you want. If you don't pay very well, you will not get the judgment you want. This is also with even the subnational elections, the local government elections which states conduct. And we know what happens in the states. They will appropriate a lot of money, but during the elections, you will not see any ballot. They will just sit down somewhere and write. And then, of course, when you go to court, they will try all sorts of things to make sure that the time allocated for the judgment lapses. And yes, school system today. When I went to school, my father didn't know the college I went to. He didn't even go there for one single day. Today, even I spaces for them in the secondary in Nigeria. And then I'm currently working, trying to manage a private university. Students are cheating, and parents are following them to cheat, which is very, very sad. Parents try to come, see who is the exam officer, and if they can, they give money. They attempt to induce, try to give money to the exam officer so that their words will pass the exam. It's extremely sad what's happening politically and in the school system. It's sad.
Okay, dear listener, if you are just tuning in, you've been listening to Perspectives on I Get Radio 95.5 Star FM, Makude, and this morning our discussion is focused on the Nigerian national integration, and we've been speaking with the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nka Igboko, and he is a distinguished professor of archaeology, the former chairman of Governing Council, Pro-Chancellor at the Benue State University, Professor Zacharias Gondo. This is the guest we have here in the studio. And at 10 o'clock, you, the listener, can also have your voice to make the microphone yours by phoning in on 0814-335-9292. The number, once again, is 0814-335-9292. But that will be at 10 o'clock when we'll start engaging with you. In the meantime, the SMS line is already activated. The line is 0912-699-9404. 0912-699-9404. It's also available on WhatsApp. Please, you may follow our social media platforms where the content is streaming as well to be a part of the discussion. Now, Prof, let's go back to your lecture. In the lecture, you highlighted some ethnic tensions and agitations which arose from the beginning of the creation of Nigeria. In your opinion, what strategies can be employed to address ethnic tensions and regional tensions that seem to be arising in the contemporary Nigerian society?
Well, my argument has always been that where there are ethnic tensions, people feel cheated, people feel excluded, people don't have a sense of belonging. The first group to feel like this was the group led by Isaac Adakaboro in the Riverine area. After him, the Igbos through Biafra felt like this. The Ogonis have felt like this. Even the Yorubas, in spite of the fact that they have had more than their fair share of this country, have felt cheated, and then there are issues of Oduduwa Republic. The people in the Middle Belt have also felt cheated, and the people in Bakassi have also felt cheated. Truth of the matter is, anytime you have a group feeling like this, they think, and I think wrongly, that if they went and had their own country, they will be able to be satisfied with that type of setup. I think that is extremely wrong. That is extremely wrong. The House of Fulani, particularly the tendency, the extremist Islamic tendency, also feels that they are not provided for war in this country. And that is why you have things like Boko Haram. The Fulanis, curiously, even though they have been over-pampered in this country, also feel that they have a reason to complain. And that is why at any point in time, they tend to cut deals with prospective politicians to get favors from them. We know, for example, that the Ministry of Livestock Development by this government is a deal which they had cut with President Tinubu before they voted for him, before they supported him. So people feel excluded. It is when they feel excluded that they start agitations. And the tensions you have in the polity are tensions that are rooted in this idea of exclusion. But when you look at what they are calling exclusion, sometimes you discover that they are just being greedy. Truth of the matter is we need each other in this country. And we don't have to be greedy about that. We don't have to be greedy about this country for every one of us. And I think our politicians have not just been careful enough to try to be creative to make sure that what we have as a country is fair and honest to each of us to commit to it.
Okay, in the midst of this, what kind of governance structures can be put in place to promote national unity and integration to douse some of these ethnic tensions?
Well, the leadership is very important. What the leader does is very important. I don't think I prefer any governance structure, for example, that will lead us to the type of polity we want. The presidential system can be good. Even the parliamentary system, it can also be good. But what the leaders are doing is really what creates the type of challenges we have. Take, for example, what is happening presently at the National Assembly now. This whole sitting politics between Natasha Akpoti, senator, and the Senate. My challenge and priority will not be really where a senator is sitting or not sitting. In a country where people are going hungry, in a country where the school system has collapsed, in a country where the industries have collapsed, where there is no light, where people have no access to potable water. A Senate should not be worried about where somebody is sitting and whether somebody cannot speak because they are sitting on the wrong seat. People shouldn't be talking about that. The same thing with what is happening nationally and even sub-nationally, because what happens at the federal level also sometimes is replicated at the state levels. There are people in this country right now. President Bola Tinubu is now up to 2 years, 2 full years in his government, and they are talking about 8 years for him. The governors, some of them are not even up to 2 years. They have not done anything. They have not yet done anything, and they are jumping to 8 years. So my own feeling is really that the type of leadership and followership is really the key. Is really the key to the development of this country. As long as we seem to have rogue leaders who have rogue followers, who think that it's just being there that is the issue, we are going to have problems. Is it possible to have leaders who really want to take us out of this mess? And we have good examples to show in other parts of the world. The Chinese at a point had a 100-year development plan. It is because of that 100-year development plan that they are now taking the whole world by surprise. Are people thinking about 10 years? Are they thinking about 20 years? Are they thinking about 30 years? Are they thinking about 40 years? If you start thinking in the long term, something will happen to your education, which you will deliberately bring up. If you start thinking about 30, 20 years, something will happen to your agriculture. Something will happen to your health system. Something will happen to your industrial base. But if you are just thinking about today, tomorrow, and you are happy that you are there and you have access to money and there's no accountability, it's not going to work. Whether you have a parliamentary system or you have a presidential system or you will have even a military system.
Anyway, the military, for now, most Nigerians say it's not the option. But again, we'll look at, since you have talked about, in your words, rogue leadership. What kind of leadership qualities are required of our leaders if truly we must promote a sense of national unity and integration for the country?
I think our leaders must think of the collective. It's very, very important that our leaders must think of the collective. We have sat down in Nigeria and given a president to somebody who argued that it was his turn. He wasn't thinking about Nigeria. He was thinking about his personal turn. And we gave it to him. We have sat down in our states, in our different states, and we have given leadership to people who thought it was the turn of their ethnic groups to be governors. It was their own turn, maybe because of their own efforts and credibility to be governors. At all of us as Nigerians, all of us as people in their own states, so that when they are taking a decision, they are taking a decision that can benefit the collective, not a decision that can benefit each other. And when they are quarreling with each other, that is when they disagree. Quarreling is actually not a good word, because politicians can disagree, they can argue, they can be on the different sides of the stick. When they are on the different sides of the stick, they are not there because of personal interest, but the collective interest. Leaders that are not afraid of arguing, leaders that are not afraid of putting their cards on the table, leaders that would debate. I don't see a lot of debate. In the last dispensation, there was not much of debate. I think most people were fearing. And as long as we don't debate, as long as we do not allow people to put their cards on the table and convince us that they are for the public good, it's going to be difficult for us not to have rogue leaders.
But again, would you say to address the trust deficit? Because in essence, you are saying there's an issue of trust deficit in our leaders. What can we do to address that and, of course, promote inclusive governance?
Well, first, I want to see politicians consult more honestly before they choose people whom they can project as possible leaders. I want them to consult more before they do that. I also want politicians who would choose leaders who will not be afraid. Our leaders, most of our politicians are afraid to engage. And if we are afraid to engage, we are not likely going to take very good decisions. We are not likely going to take very good decisions. We think that what we know would cover for all. And the interesting thing is that half of the time, if you open up and you engage, you will discover that there's something you don't know, the knowing of which will make a huge difference. I think our leaders should be humble enough to appreciate that they don't know everything, and that the things they don't know, if they know, will make a difference.
Okay, and would that lead to an improved legitimacy of government as you seem to posit in your lecture?
Well, the legitimacy of government is about elections. It's about elections. This is my turn. He will allow the people to do what they want to do. No leader who wants to help his people would rig an election. So the legitimacy is about rigging. The legitimacy is about rigging. If there's no rigging, there will be legitimacy. And then every other person will know that if you don't perform, you will lose the election because you have not performed. It's not just about saying that you will win by all means, whether people like it or they don't like it. It is the issue of appreciating the fact that if they vote you in because they like you or they like what you are coming to do, you will have their votes. You will have your win. But if they really don't like you, you will not win. And there's no problem with that. If you don't win today, maybe probably tomorrow you will win.
All right. Before we engage with the listener shortly, let's look at the economic perspective. In your lecture, you talked about the potential fault lines and the future of oil. Is Nigeria's economy, the monolithic nature of it, satisfying to you? And what can we do to diversify the economy of Nigeria?
That our over dependence on oil is good. Our over dependence on oil has made us to sit back and to depend on oil revenues. So no person is trying to innovate. No person is trying to do something additional. You are a governor or you are a president. You are depending on oil revenues. They are coming anyway, even when a lot of it is being stolen.
And we understand it has tripled this time.
Yes.
Or quadrupled,
Yes.
as some argue.
It is because of oil. It's not because the states are doing anything that is also additional to the oil revenues. Manufacturing has collapsed in many parts of this country. Industries have gone to neighboring countries. Most industries have gone to Ghana, or rather some industries have gone to Ghana. Some people have folded up and taken flight to other parts. So the overdependence on oil is not good. We are laid back. We are not doing the proper thing. There are other things which we can do. For example, agriculture. There's a lot we can do in terms of agriculture because there's a lot of arable land in this country, land that you can use for farming, which we are not using for farming. And of course, you know that Nigeria is one of the few countries in the world where so many types of different crops can grow profitably. So aside from agriculture, there is also solid minerals, solid minerals in the ground. And then we have a country where there is now an established nexus between solid minerals and insecurity, and no person is thinking about it. If you go to South Africa, for example, a city like Johannesburg, it's as a result of the gold in that area. We have high-grade gold in different parts of this country. We have other premium minerals in many parts of this country. And it's amazing because the knowledge has always been there. Before the Europeans left to independence, if you go to parts of Plateau, there was a lot of extensive tin mining activities that involved channels, tunnels underground, where vehicles could run and get tin out. By the time these people were going, they closed some of these channels, some of these tunnels. They closed them. But the system knows it today. So when there are issues of insecurity on the plateau, some of them are related to attempts by some of these white people to come back to open some of these tunnels to start taking out some of these minerals. You go to Kwande, every person knows there's high-grade gold there. High-grade gold there. Kwande is in this state. It's not very far away. And we know that the Chinese and other nationals have been involved in it. But what are we doing? We are depending on what monies these people give us when they carry some of these minerals away, and we are satisfied.
For the case of Benue, for instance, you mentioned diversifying to agriculture. What comparative advantage can Benue as the food basket of the nation take in this direction? Briefly, before we engage with the listener.
Well, the issue of food basket, being food basket of the nation, if we don't sit up, if we don't sit up to improve our agriculture, to make sure that there is high yield in agriculture, that food basket thing will just be rubbish in the next few years, because other states like Niger are becoming more serious in terms of agriculture, and they can overtake us. Other states like Kebbi, if they become more serious, they can also overtake us. So for Benue, there are a lot of things we can put into the system to make sure that we are still uh, the so-called food basket. If we go into cassava, uh, we can have some comparative advantage. If we go into yam production, we can. If we go into rice production, we can. If we go into citrus and fruits, we can. So there are a lot of things we can do, a lot we can do, certainly to feed to export.
All right, it's about time now for us to engage with the listener, but that will be after this short breather. Please stay with us. Welcome back from that short break, dear listener. Thank you for staying with us. If you're just tuning in, you've been listening to Perspectives on Agit Radio 95.5 Star FM Makode. We are discussing the Nigerian project. You can phone in on the program. The number to reach us is 0814-335-9292. The number, once again, is 0814-335-9292. Once you connect with us, we would like to know your full name and where you are calling from. Then you make your submission. Kindly keep it very brief. You can also send an SMS to 0912-699-9404. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Perspectives.
Good morning, Mr. Nathan Nangu.
Thank you.
Good morning, guests in the house.
Thank you very much.
Okay, my name is Kefa ST Tuluke, calling from KN Kano, northwest part of Nigeria this morning.
Okay, good to have you join us, Kefa. Okay.
You say this Nigerian project has to be taken into consideration because, as the guests in the house have highlighted, the yearnings and progress of this project. In Benue before, the sole mean was agricultural. And now that we are having issue of insecurity, most people now, they cannot go to their farm. So it's not only Benue, most of the states. And you see, before the oil come in, Nigeria was knowing in agriculture before they started discovering oil in some part of Nigeria. So to me, people who are in the helm of government, both at the federal level, the state and the local government, let them come together and harmonize so that they can find ways so that this project will be once and for all. I think by doing that, we have a better nation. That is my take this morning. Thank you and God bless you.
Okay, thank you, Tefakilke, for your
pleasure.
position. Thank you. Have a great day too. Okay, Tefakilke says agriculture, much as we should go into it, it is strengthened by insecurity. That's your position. We'll engage more. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Hello. Okay, we lost connection with you, but the line is still available. 0814-335-92. Thank you, John Adoku.
Program.
Thank you.
I like your professor. Somebody who speaks truth to power. You see, the problem we're having in this country, sincerely, me, John Aduko, have been advocating that this country, we are supposed to be separated. You see what is happening in Nigeria today? Because you are fasting, you close schools. You know, you mentioned it that time. Your guest mentioned it. You are fasting and you are closing schools. Is it your only children that are in those schools? Are you look? Some people will do something they don't even think about it. That means, and your guest also said, you see, this country is a country that religion is taking the most part of anything we do.
Now, how can we use the religion to harness it into a strength devoid of the fourth line, Mr. Aduko?
Look, with what we are practicing, with the type of religion we are practicing, I don't want to call names of the religion. The religion, the opposite religion to each other is practicing bloodshed. While the other religion, they will just sit down, they come and capture them and slaughter them.
Anyway,
they won't say anything. Yes.
Anyway, for purpose of our engagement, we are just trying to find a way forward and not to inflame passion. So, be it as it may, whatever the issues may be, we should find a solution.
Nathaniel, please,
yes.
Before you kill, before you have to kill it first. I have to explain the reasons why this thing is happening like this before we get the antidote. What I'm saying is the way we are going in this country, like your guest said, somebody is contesting election, he will come and tell us it is my turn. And Nigeria wouldn't ask questions, although nobody voted that he bought his election. Are we thinking about it? What do we do about such progressive or unprogressive tomorrow? What is happening in this country? For me, Nigeria come together. As I mentioned before, we have to forget about the religion. Look at Israel and Palestinians. They worship in the same. They worship in the same mosque. When you come pray during your time, if you lapse, you go. Another set of people come. But in Nigeria, if you are not a Christian or if you are not a Muslim, then you don't have religion. We cannot progress like this.
All right.
The nation of Nigeria today, it will soon end because this country was divided. This country.
Thank you.
Everybody will know his boundary. I'm telling you the truth.
Thank this for focused on fostering the unity of the country and not calling for its separation. At least for now, we haven't gotten to that. And of course, even the religion, we should use them to promote our oneness. This is what the discussion is centered on. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Hello. Okay, we lost connection with you. Good morning, and welcome to Perspectives. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
I'm Bello Musa calling from North Bank.
Okay, Bello Musa.
The problem of this Nigerian country is just the politicians. Because by the time they are sharing this the cake equally, nobody will hear them. But by the time someone feel that the cake is taking far from him, it is there you hear the religious matter, you hear the tribal matter. This is not from my side. This is not from my region. But if things going on to good with them, nobody will hear anything. So the problem is, and we know the politicians that do all those things. Even those ones that they are closing school, they are not even taking considering or contacting the people that who cannot take. They cannot ask or even contact those people that are concerned. They just do what they want at the time they want. So that's the problem is the politicians.
Okay. Thank you, Bello Musa. And are you a politician too? Because
no.
Okay, but it is argued that every human being is a politician. You can even be one. Anyway, thank you, Bello Musa, for your position. the politicians should also call in and tell us why they are the problem or tell us why they are not. 0814-335-9292. That is Bello Musa's argument anyway. So, good morning and thank you for joining us. Hello. Good morning. Okay, we lost connection with you. But line is available 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is 0912-699-9404. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for joining us.
This is Kwahange Emmanuel calling from North Bank.
Okay. Did you say Kwahange? Oh, we lost connection with Kwahange already. Well, sometimes the network could be unfriendly. Good morning and welcome.
Calling from OGR here in Makodi.
Okay, good to have you join us, TM Christopher.
Thank you very much, sir. For me, because when somebody becomes a leader in Nigeria, the person starts looking at himself as a boss over Nigeria or over their followers. But leadership is service. Leadership is service. Is what.
Hello, Christopher. Oh, quite unfriendly. Well, leadership is service. When your leaders become leaders, they should serve the people. Part of your submission before the connection was lost. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Elder Onoha. I'm calling from Human Layout, Makodi.
Elder
I want to
Onoha
Ojo.
Onoha Ojo?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I want to thank Prof because it's very vast. Prof knows the problem of this country.
Onoha, the network seems unfriendly where you are. Maybe you want to change your position so that we pick up well and we hear you, please.
Are you hearing me better now?
Very well. Go on.
Okay. Like you mentioned, when 2016 was coming around, some people vowed that either they rule this country or they destroy it. And the then president said that it's not ready to see blood because of rulership. In this country, we have a situation where leaders enter. What they do is to amass so much wealth that will do for their grandchildren. If you imagine the amount of money that our late Abacha cashed out, you know that family can never finish that money in 100 years. So what is happening is that anybody that has opportunity goes up there to take as much as he or she can without looking at whoever is being ruled. Like he pointedly said, the leader came up and said, "Gosh, it is my turn," even though he had no plan what he was going to do. He said, "It's my turn," and he gave it to him. So what I want to say in conclusion is that things are piling up. I'm an elderly person. One day, if this country doesn't integrate, it will bust. That's just what I say. Let us not deceive ourselves. Because oil money is coming. Nobody is concerned about it. Nobody is looking at other ways of making it. One day, this country may not be at our own time because the people that are being marginalized at a point, they will not be able to take it again. They will now stand face to face with those that are marginalizing them. So that's just my take. Let us be prepared. One day, whether it integrates or not, it will explode. One of the two things. So let them continue, our leader. Thank you very much. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you.
We're pushing does not in any way entail calling for the disintegration of the country. As we mentioned, we're looking out for a way to foster national unity and integration of the country. We have had this said of the country past years, but we overcame. So we should look ahead, look into the future with hope. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Hello. Okay, you are on, but we can barely hear you. The network seems to be a bit unfriendly today, but we are here. We'll try as much as we can to engage with those who are able to come through. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Nathaniel.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, blessed.
Thank
Good
you, sir.
morning. Yeah, yes.
Good morning.
In fact, my name is Alphonsus Okeke from Nima side.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Alphonsus Okeke.
Yeah, guests have said it all. Muslim to Muslim. Tell me how this herdsmen will stop. Muslim to Muslim ticket. Okay, since our Benue state, every local government, herdsmen. Who will do it? Is it Tinubu or his assistant, deputy, as they are Muslim to Muslim? Let's pray. May God help us. That's all.
Okay,
That's my take.
thank you. Okay.
Muslim to Muslim. Yeah, God has said it all.
Thank you. All right. KK is worried about headspan inversion. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Nathan Yenongo.
Thank you.
Yes, this is Vincent Ako. I'm calling from Ishabakut Road.
All right, Vincent.
Yeah, my regard to the professor in the studio.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I have two questions for him, sir. First of all, he said that those who are complaining that they have not gotten their own political power are greedy. Okay, I want to ask, what do you make of those that have been ruling and have refused to allow others to rule? That is question number one. Then question number two, you say that the Muslim people don't like Western education and that they have shut down their schools.
Vincent, hello, Vincent.
Let me answer.
Hello, let me hold brief. He did not make that submission. He did not. No.
Okay. In that case, you should answer the first question.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, Prof, you have a question, but we'll allow you to respond to that after this more engagement. Hello, good morning, and thank you for joining us. Hello. Okay, well, you are on, but yet again we can't hear you. 0814-335-9292. If you are not able to get through to the call line, simply send an SMS to 0912-699-9404. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
This is Mr. Osmond Ungu. I'm calling from Makodi, along Makodi Modern Market Road.
Good to have you, Osmond.
Yes, I salute your guest. And what my concern is how to get that document in that 2012. How would I have access to that conversation so that I will document it because of future? That is the only thing I want to find out from the professor.
Okay, Osmond, could that will not allow the measurement of the cap on the knee? Thank you, Osmond, for calling in. Well, Prof, maybe Osmond wants you to make this lecture a public one for him to have access to. But when we come back, we'll allow you to respond. Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Nathan Nongu.
Good morning, sir.
My regards to the professor in the studio.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, he has done justice to this topic of discourse very, very much well. But I will not waste time dwelling on them.
We would like to know your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Justin Umile. Okay. I'm calling from behind Augustinian Community Institute, Makodi.
Okay.
Yeah. You see, the problem with this country is that of the arts. You have the issue of sentiment from our farms, from our homes, our communities, in high places, in our political life, and everywhere. Things are not being done in this country based on reason. Things are not being done based on ethical considerations. You know, who gets what, when, and how does not take into consideration whether that person is qualified, he is capable, he has the capacity to do or deliver
such goals. Things are being done in this country based on where one is coming from, irrespective of whether you have the capacity or not. If you look at how elections are conducted in this country, or how candidates are selected in this country today, you will discover that most of the time it's based on zoning. And if this zoning come into play, candidates that are most qualified are usually thrown to the dustbin, and you find round pegs going to square pegs going into round holes. So what I'm saying, what I'm just trying to say is that for this country to get back or get to the promised land, we must consider ethical considerations. Things should not be done in this country based on where we are coming from, but based on reason, based on merit. Nigerians, until we learn how to treat Nigerians equally, every life matters. There should be even development. If you have even development, honestly, most of these agitations, it will be unheard of.
All right.
So our leaders, I call on our leaders today to put square pegs, to put round holes, to put round pegs in round holes, not square pegs in round holes.
All right.
Let us, the voters ourselves, we should be able to ask ourselves, what is this person going to come up with? Is he qualified? Can he be trusted? We should have an independent mind on how we are going to choose who leads us. And if the person fails, we should be able to hold that person accountable. Thank you. That is my take on this.
Thank you, Justin. Appreciate your
You're
submission.
welcome.
Yeah. We should emphasize merits in our leadership recruitment. I think that's the summary. And hold our leaders accountable. Thank you very much, Justin, for making your position on the program. Okay, Prof, I'll pause temporarily on the course and allow you to respond. You have listened to the submissions, but particularly Vincent Akko asked a question that you mentioned about those who are ruling, not being greedy. I didn't quite get the question, quite straightforward, but you listened to him.
Yes, I did listen to him. My point is, if we are to make haste towards development, towards unity, we shouldn't be greedy. The impression he gave is he's worried that some people they will monopolize, they will be in the leadership seat, and other people are outside. They are just peeping through the window, and I'm calling them greedy. I'm sure he's coming from
perspectives of Agate Radio. Anyway, don't mind me, Prof.
You see, in the Benue perspective, there's this idea, how are the T people dominating? Most people ask that. And I'm not saying that the people who feel excluded are automatically greedy. That's not what I'm saying. If I came across as saying that, I'm sorry about that. I didn't want to come across as saying the person who is excluded is automatically the greedy person. No, that is not the issue. The point of states for leadership of this country, there should be more robust engagement. It is the robust engagement that would really fine-tune the criteria for good leadership. It is and who the bad leader would be, to what we can even discuss. If somebody came and then you do not even allow any argument, because there have been people who will come and whatever you say, there will just be a project. And I think that is not correct. I want a robust argument, engagement for leadership to emerge. And I cannot suggest that when people are shut out, they are shut out because they are greedy. I cannot suggest that. I would rather that we discuss earnestly on issues. If it is a state, what can move the state forward? What can unite the state? What can develop the state and grow us? What can make us to be a better country for all of us, for the collective? That is what I can say as my response to that. There is a friend who wanted to get to this paper. Two things can happen. If you get back to Nathaniel and he gives you my number, I can send the paper to you virtually automatically. But Agate Radio also has a print outlet. They have a newspaper. I think probably Nathaniel can help us if they can publish the paper. Probably more people can look at it because that paper is still relevant. I wish it were not relevant. I wish we had passed and gone further than what the paper was saying in 2012 to where we were before in terms of ethnicity, before in terms of religion, before in terms of so many other things that are not good for the development of this country. And of course, it's becoming quite a unity of this country. And I mentioned their support for fringe and terrorist groups like Boko Haram. I mentioned their use of USAID in other countries to foment trouble and to finance terror. And it's becoming quite clear with what Donald Trump is saying in America that these people were just sucking us. The Americans were just sucking us and moving us towards a disintegration that just as they had foretold.
All right, let's engage with a few more persons before we come back. Good morning and thank you for joining us. Hello. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning to the distinguished prof in the house.
Welcome.
This is Friday Obodo calling from International Market Road.
Okay, good to have you join us Friday.
National cohesion is one of the fundamentals of Nigeria as a nation and as a people. And as such, promoting it will enhance better nation for us. Nigeria cannot divide and will not divide. But we have some challenges, and I feel that these are some of the fundamentals, if put in place, can enhance nation building and making us better. One of it is good leadership. Good leadership should also, as a process of engaging the people, knowing the mind of the people, and what to do for the people. This should be done in lines with the rules and regulations of the nation. Using the constitutions as a basis, not on the ground of any other forms, but following rules and regulations, meeting the basic needs of the Nigerian people and localization of Nigerian content to enhance local content development. It will enhance national cohesion and economic development for us as a people. Domestication of our local products and indigenous will not help us. We must obey rules and regulations to enhance this process. Ethnicity has never helped us. Religion has not helped us. This will also bring me to the point. Nigerians as a people, we look at things from the perspective it benefits us or it benefits of our ideology and our person. That brings me to this point. National Assembly, with what is happening with Natasha as your guest in the studio brought out, the National Assembly has its rules and regulations. And I beg to differ from the prof that it should enhance that National Assembly use its rule books within the House to guide its rules and regulations. Natasha is not the problem of this country. The Senate has its rule book, and it should abide by that. Going looking at the academic environment, Prof, who is also there, knows that you groom people, you teach them, you tutor them, and the academic environment also has rules and regulation to be able to produce graduates, both for further study. By this, we should not use our individual opinion to shape the idea of Nigeria. Nigeria is bigger than any ethnicity or religion. We should look at the Nigerianization of this country and developing our local content, enhancing good development. It will help to foster good nation building. This is my submission this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Friday, for your submission. Appreciate you for calling in. The Nigerian project should be the bigger picture and not. Anyway, we'll engage with a few more persons and then we'll go forward. The line is available 0814-335-9292. The SMS line is 0912-699-9404. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you.
This is Tim Bioyan calling from behind the mega station New Topo Road.
What did you say the name is?
Tim Bioyan Jacob.
Timbi Oyen. Thank you. Go ahead, Oyen.
Yes, sir. Good morning, the presenter and the guests in the house.
Good morning.
The major challenge we have in this country is the issue of mindset. I was working on a document, and I titled the document "Absence of Mindset in a Corrupt Society." You can see the issue we are having at stake is not even about leadership. It's not even about the followers, but about our own mindset. Let me bring the issue closer to our own families. Somebody will come out as a leader of a family. Instead of him to take himself as a leader of that family, his own personal interest will now bears on the whole family. So what we are having in this country is issue of mindset. Once we will be able to change our mindset, people will be clamoring for leadership. Once they get there, they will forget where they are coming from. And that thing is causing a lot of problem in this country. So by the time we begin to think right, we begin to think that this country belongs to Obolov. And one day all of us leave this country. There will not be basis for us to be accumulating wealth. There will not be basis for us to be saying one thing or the other that we should divide this country in one way or the other. That what is happening in National Assembly now, clamoring for creation of more states. Do we need those states really? What we need is development, not creating a state. The ones that have been in existence, what have they done to their own citizens? So it's all about our mindset. So if we are able to think right and think that what we are doing, one day we'll give account of it, then everything will work. So in that document, as a absent of mindset, I bring out the religious aspect.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, maybe when we have access to your document, we should also have it and see where we can form a discussion from it. Thank you for your position, your contribution on the program. Thank you so much.
It's all right. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, Prof, let's pause on the course yet again and come back. This time, let's look at, in your lecture, you used one of the American writers' phrase, Nigeria dancing on the brink. Right. And part of this paper, you raised issues about the USAID, that's the United Nations Agency for International Development, in terms of its relationship with Nigeria and the foreign policy. Recently, one of the American congressmen did allege that the USAID was used as an agency in funding terrorism in Nigeria. Could there have been any link as to what you were arguing in this paper at that time and what obtains now with this allegation coming? And is it true that this allegation actually finds substance in our current situation in the country?
Well, if the American congressman came out clearly,
Paris Cow,
Yes,
Yes.
to accuse USAID of funding terrorism in Nigeria and other countries. I think we better believe him. Any person who doesn't believe them is just on time. America has pursued a foreign policy that has led to the disintegration of many countries. Many countries. Some that have not been disintegrated have been terribly destabilized. Yugoslavia was destroyed by America. Yugoslavia was destroyed by America. It's quite clear. What used to be the Soviet Union was also destroyed by America. And in Africa, the Americans have tried to destroy Angola. It's on record. They have tried to destroy Mozambique. It's on record. They have tried to destroy Somalia. It's on record. And if they are now saying amongst themselves that they were sponsoring terrorism in this country, I think we better take them serious. Because USAID has never been interested in any tangible infrastructure in this country. Tangible infrastructures include things like roads, includes things like supporting schools, include things like supporting things that are tangible. They have always been interested in things like gender, they have been interested in things like lesbianism and homosexuality and what they call human rights. And these are the things that seem to fuel the fault lines in this country. And if you look at the accusation targeting Boko Haram, and then of course the accusation, if you really are critical enough, should also target Hezman. They supported them. If you look at Kaduna State, for example, within this period they are talking about, within the period El-Rufai was in power, USAID had pumped more money into Kaduna than any other single state in this country. And where was that money going to? These are the type of questions we have to ask ourselves. People have said, what is the use of, what will America benefit if this country implodes, if this country disintegrates? Of course, America will benefit because a powerful Nigeria is a threat to countries like America. First, they will not get access to our minerals and our oil. Second, they will not be able to manipulate Africa because if Nigeria grows from strength to strength, Nigeria will take leadership in Africa and Nigeria will be able to make sure that Africans stand their ground in the Committee of Nations. So what they have wanted to is to make sure that we break into very small countries that will not even be strong enough to face any powerful multinational corporations like Shell, corporations like some of these oil companies. Otherwise, how else can we be one of the best or one of the biggest countries selling oil to the United States, and then we cannot have a functional oil refinery? What are they doing that we cannot have a functional oil refinery? If America really wants this country to succeed, how can we try to have a, because what is in Ajaokuta now is crap. But I'm happy that some of these things are coming up to face us squarely. Our salvation, our development is not in the hands of any other foreign power. It is, as Mandela used to say, it is in our hands. It is in our hands. If we know that our development is in our hands, then we can decide what type of education that will equip us to be developed. We will decide the type of religion that we promote amongst Nigerians that will unite us. We will decide how we can handle our agriculture. We can decide how we can handle our industrial base. And then we can decide that the value of our money will not depend on the value of any other person's money. So I'm happy that some of these things are coming up the way that we had argued about 13 years or so back. And it gives me the strength and the courage to say that we must work up as Nigerians and work together, because our future is really in our hands. If we don't manage it well, yes, other people will come in and they will mess us up. And the Americans are one of them. The Americans are one of them.
Okay. A few more engagements and then we'll try to wrap up. Hello, good morning. Oh, lost connection with you already. 0814-335-9292. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Mr. Natane.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning to your guests in the studio.
Morning.
This is Mr. Emmanuel from Irwata area.
Okay, Emmanuel who?
Emmanuel Amba.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Oh, thank you. Talking of unity and integration for national development, I think looking at our history, our case is a peculiar one because we were brought from different national ethnic backgrounds, and to crown it all, the two dominant religions that were transported or exported to us, killing our forefathers' religion. All those things are factors that are maiming our national integration and, of course, unity, and thereby hurting our development, because a divided house cannot stand. Be that as it may, you were emphasizing on how to foster development, how to come about the solution, not the lamentation at all every time. It lies with our leaders. Now, if our leaders can champion the cause of justice, let justice reign in every human ramification, I think we will get it right. If somebody does something wrong, it shouldn't be treated on the basis of affiliation, personal affiliation, and the rest. It should be treated on the basis of the rules and laws prohibiting that particular act. Therefore, it lies with our leaders, because we have given them the opportunity to lead and make decisions on our behalf. And if their decision is marred by injustice, then there is no way we can forge ahead and get our development.
Okay. Thank you.
So let justice reign.
Thank you, sir.
All human communication.
Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel. Thanks for calling. That will be the last call we'll take on the program because our time is no longer there. We'll take some few messages and then we'll wrap up. This one says, good morning to you and the guests. The perception of every recent Nigerian leader is that they have spread division. Remember the Goodluck Jonathan era, Asari Dukobo loud vituperations and how the state emboldened the likes of Tom Polo through concession of state property. President Buhari and Tinubu, with their appointment, have reinforced the narrative of modernization and westernization. We need a united nation forged in common belief with strong assurances from the leader. Most Nigerian leaders try hard to sell sectionalism, and in the end, we have been able to organize ourselves. We have not been able to organize ourselves around a national vision. Most of the work that should have started with the president filtered through the National Orientation Agency is clearly absent. We can decide to take higher route, speak in a pan-Nigerian sense, the kind of virtue Olusegun Obasanjo, despite his shortcomings, had in immense proportion. Ko Ephraim from Welfare Quarters in Makodi. Okay, Ko, we thank you for your message. This one says, good morning, the presenter and the guest. The Nigeria problem is mostly, if not all, caused by politicians, because it does not matter where a leader comes from. A leader can be a reverend father and lead for forever if he is doing what the voters want and should rule forever. Bello Musa from North Bank. Okay, Bello, we thank you. I think you called in earlier too. This one says, let's make politics a game plan that push the nation forward. As it is said, the three cooking stones. Isaac Otua from Tejime in Goma. Okay, Isaac, thank you. Those are the few messages we're able to accommodate on the program. And Prof, this time again on the foreign policy angle, how can Nigeria realign its foreign policy priorities so that we don't have nations trying to undermine its sovereignty?
Well, it actually depends on what we want. A foreign policy is predicated on the interests of the country concerned. If you look at the Americans now, Trump has come in with this idea that America first will make America great again. So enter into unnecessary fights and unnecessary things outside America. For us as a country, sometimes we wonder, sometimes I really wonder, what really is our focus? What are we looking for? What is of interest to us as a country, as a collective? And that is when you run into problems, because when you are looking at what is our collective interest, you are not likely to even know it. You are not likely to even guess it, because it's difficult to understand. If we are doing certain things that will benefit all of us, why is our education so bad? Why is it in a state of disrepair? Why is it decayed? And if we are working towards a collective, why is our religion, for example, polarizing us? And if we have a collective interest, why do we lose so many people as a result of insecurity? We don't seem. Other countries can go to war on account of one person, And if they lose one person, they are likely going to deploy all the resources of a state to go after the person who has made them to lose one person. In this country, we can lose several people, and there is no outcry, there is no public outcry. In states, sometimes we lose several people, and then state functionaries who are supposed to be the first to say, look, we cannot allow this, would come out and say that, look, what is happening is fake news. What is happening is not true. So when you have state actors involved in this type of blatant lies, you start wondering whether that type of state, you start asking whether our own country knows what the collective interest is. And once you don't know what that collective interest is, you cannot build a foreign policy that would make every other person, every other country careful about dealing with you.
To surmounting the Nigerian challenge, bridge to oneness. Give us insights into this surmounting the challenge and bridging the oneness, the gap that exists between. That should be your concluding thoughts into this.
If I were to say anything about the conclusion of that paper, I would say we must engage with each other. We must engage with each other as nationalities, as people, as those standing on the different sides of the stick, as those standing on the different sides of the divides and the fault lines. We must engage with each other, and we must be honest with each other as we engage, so that all of us would be committed and have faith in the way forward. For now, there is no engagement. For now, there is no faith in going forward. And a lot of people they seem to be waiting for their time. And because they think that if it is a matter of turning turns, their time would come, they would take their turn, and they will do what they can. It shouldn't be like that.
This is where we draw our curtains on today's edition of Perspectives, which we discussed the Nigerian project propositions for national integration and unity. And we were privileged to have on the program a distinguished professor of archaeology who is the Vice Chancellor, University of Mkai Boko. He's a former Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Governing Council of the Benue State University, Makudi, Professor Zacharias Gundu. We thank you very much indeed, Prof, for availing us your valuable time and insights on the program.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel.
Dear listener, that's our program today. But let's remind you the views and opinions of the discussant and the callers on this program are purely theirs and not that of our Gate Radio. My name is Nathaniel Now. Join us on Wednesday for a fresh edition of Perspectives. Have yourself a great week ahead. Goodbye.